ये जो 1970 का सिल्वर क्रैश था उसके बाद भी एक दो बार हुआ है, उस क्रैश में उसमें दे हैड देयर डॉलर रिजर्व्स, and dollar reserves plus treasury investments. Like, for example, India has very heavy treasury investment. They started pulling out money from the US treasury. One of the conditions which President Xi Jinping had put to President Trump, that we don't want yuan to be dependent on dollars. We want it to be backed by gold.
There was a massive bubble for silver. 1970 में था और 2011 में भी था. How is this different?
कुछ हद तक है पर ज्यादा हद तक नहीं भी है, क्योंकि ये जो 1970 का सिल्वर क्रैश था उसके बाद भी एक दो बार हुआ है, उस क्रैश में उसमें तब हम सिल्वर, सो द बबल व्हाटएवर BIS says or whatever double bubble we are talking about, to a certain extent yes, but majorly no.
Global geopolitics सबसे बड़ा इकोनॉमिक रिस्क लग रहा है आपको?
तो एक रशिया यूक्रेन बहुत बड़ा टेंशन नजर आ रहा है, क्योंकि
गोल्ड और सिल्वर जो स्टॉक्स है दे आर एट एन ऑल टाइम हाई. तो अभी टॉकिंग, इज दिस प्रॉपर डिमांड और इज दिस अ मैक्रो शिफ्ट?
with the investment value of the gold, I think it's high time we once upon a time it used to be the same, you know, when people used to buy jewelry, you know, यहाँ इंडिया में बोलते थे ले बेटी रख ले तेरे आगे काम आएगा, then the grandma used to pass on, ले मेरी grandma ने मुझे दिया था ये. I think the times have.
अब ब्रिक्स की de-dollarization और गोल्ड बैक करेंसी की डिस्कशंस चल रहे हैं, which is like you said giving Trump a lot of nightmares and a lot of sleepless nights. तो अगर ये होता है, what is the real impact of this?
So BRICS currency is a very tough call. It's not easy, but yes.
If a currency is created, a gold back currency is created, what happens to the Indian rupee in this case?
गोल्ड ने एक साल में 2 लाख रुपीस छू लिया. सिल्वर $64 पर पहुंच गया. बैंक्स ने ट्रेजरी से पैसा खींचा और गोल्ड रिजर्व्स भरनी शुरू कर दी. प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप की पॉलिसीज ने पूरी दुनिया को अनसर्टेनिटी के समुद्र में डाल दिया. और इस सब के बीच एक सवाल सबके मन में है, क्या हमें अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी बदलनी चाहिए? इस एपिसोड में हम बात करेंगे गोल्ड और सिल्वर के इस हिस्टोरिकल रैली की, जियोपॉलिटिकल टेंशंस और उनके इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशंस की, ब्रिक्स करेंसी की संभावना की, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट, आम इन्वेस्टर को 2026 में क्या करें और क्या ना करें. इस कॉम्प्लेक्स चक्रव्यूह को समझने के लिए हमारे साथ है शरद कोहली जी. शरद कोहली जी एक हार्वर्ड ग्रेजुएट है, CA, इकोनॉमिस्ट और जियोपॉलिटिकल एक्सपर्ट है, जो हर दिन हजारों लोगों को फाइनेंशियल और इकोनॉमिक गाइडेंस देते हैं. हेलो, माय नेम इज श्रुति डॉक्टर. वेलकम टू इनर हैबिट.
नमस्ते शरद जी, कैसे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच श्रुति, ऑल गुड.
Excellent. शरद जी, पहले तो as I said, I'm so happy for you to have come on my podcast in a habit. The excitement is there because I love economics. Although I'm not an economist myself, but I love looking at the financial side and aspect of things as well as geopolitics. तो मेरे लिए this is an amazing opportunity to understand आपके thoughts जो अभी ग्लोबली चल रहा है जियोपॉलिटिक्स वाइज और स्टॉक मार्केट और गोल्ड वाइज एज वेल.
Well, wonderful to be connected with you, Shruti, all the way from Australia, and and to all your followers, viewers, subscribers, whosoever is going to watch us later, my greetings as well. It's a pleasure joining.
थैंक यू सर. तो पहले हम शुरू करेंगे जियोपॉलिटिक्स के बारे में बात करना. शरद जी, आज के ग्लोबल जियोपॉलिटिक्स, जैसे हम रशिया, यूक्रेन, मिडिल ईस्ट के टेंशन भी चल रहे हैं, US चाइना ट्रेड इश्यूज है, फिर अभी अभी US और वेनेजुएला के बीच में शुरू हुआ है, और इसके बीच हमने थाईलैंड और कैम्बोडिया के बारे में सुना है. तो ये इसमें से सबसे बड़ा इकोनॉमिक रिस्क क्या लग रहा है आपको?
दो रिस्क है श्रुति. One risk, of course, is the Russia-Ukraine, where because Russia is on the border of NATO. There are fractures in NATO at this point of time because President Trump has decided to sort of sideline NATO and take a different course altogether. तो एक रशिया यूक्रेन बहुत बड़ा टेंशन नजर आ रहा है, क्योंकि नेटो के जो कंट्रीज हैं, उन्होंने जो नॉर्डिक कंट्रीज हैं, फिनलैंड, डेनमार्क, स्वीडन, these countries have sort of alarm their citizens that, आप अपने घर में राशन वाशन लेके रख लो, you better be prepared because there could be a war. And, Russia has now spotted the troops from other countries. So Russia is now very, very sure that this is a proxy war. This is not just Ukraine fighting. There are other, countries which have joined in a proxy format. Of course, they're not directly fighting. So we keep hearing of, and I'm told that in Belarus, which is a dear friend of Russia, they have posted some nuclear heads as well. Nuclear missiles have been pointing towards, France, Germany, Italy, the United Kingdom, and the Nordic countries. So there is a lot of tension, more than we know. Of course, as you rightly said, in India, people generally do not keep abreast with international news. We are a world in itself, in ourselves, and 1.45 billion people. There's a lot of people, and there are a lot of issues to talk about. You can spend rest of your life talking about your own country. But then, as an economist and as a geopolitical expert, I mean, I do about 6 to 7 shows a day on various platforms, on the television, on the radio, All India Radio, and of course on the digital platforms. So we have to keep abreast, and very closely so, very minutely so, very intricately so. So yes, there is a lot of stress. Cambodia, Thailand, with President Trump claim he had made them sign an agreement that seems to have gone out of the window. Rwanda and Congo, a very lesser known conflict, that also has broken out again. Middle East, that President Trump signed this pact, they called both of them to White House, and that has also broken out. Middle East, well, I think Israel is now busy hammering Hezbollah in Lebanon. So Hamas also, we keep hearing on and off something or the other, maybe not as active, but then definitely it's not a peace region, at least for now, as we talk. And then, of course, Afghanistan, Pakistan, tensions between China and Japan, we've been hearing for a long time. China, Taiwan seems to be an endless stress out there in the South China Sea. So जो geopolitical stress है वो बहुत बहुत serious है, और मुझे लगता है कि राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने बहुत कोशिश किया, उन्होंने नोबेल पीस प्राइज के लिए भी बहुत कंटेंशन जतलाया, but somehow for various reasons which only the Nobel Committee knows, but all the peace accords that he had signed, they're turning out to be topsy-turvy. He made them sign and suddenly it comes out. So I feel, Shruti, that geopolitical tensions at this point of time are simmering. The word I use called simmering. ऐसा लग रहा है जिसको हम सुलग रहे हैं नीचे. ऐसा ना समझे हम that no news is good news. ऐसा नहीं है. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि 2026 मुझे युद्धों का साल लग रहा है. It is looking like there will be, because it is simmering. So, when you put your tea on simmer, you might find it takes longer to boil. But then there is a point when it suddenly starts boiling. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि जो चीज़ सिमर कर रही है वो आगे बॉयल नहीं होगा. तो मुझे 2026 काफी स्ट्रेसफुल टेंशन वाला लग रहा है. Although I would love to be wrong here, Shruti, because disturbance of world peace is not good for any of us. We keep hearing the word or the phrase World War III more often than not. We keep hearing the word nuclear heads, nuclear facilities, nuclear missiles more often than not. These were all words of taboo earlier. They were forbidden. They were not to be named earlier, a few years ago, but now they become common words. So geopolitically speaking, Shruti, things are not looking very good, at least for the year which is knocking at our doors right now, 2026. Fingers crossed. I would love to be wrong here. For once, I would love to be wrong. And this also might, Shruti, because I come from the world of economics as well. This might also lead to recession, global recession, because the global economy at this point of time is not growing more than 2.5%. I will not name the countries, but some of the so-called developed countries, I think they are fudging with their numbers. The numbers are not as good as they look, or even they're just above the recession, I would say that the bottom line. But factually speaking, if you look at the parameters, the high frequency indicators, they are pointing that they are already in recession. Some of the countries in Europe and maybe America to a certain extent, although the GDP numbers say 1.8% growth, but the high frequency indicators and the economic parameters, $38 trillion of loan on America, no jobs being created there, no new investment coming in. And President Trump's tariff policy, I think this has totally disturbed the world equilibrium of economics, I would say. ever since he came to power. I mean, he's been something or the other has been coming out of his hat every other day. Then there's a lot of flip-flop as well, doing something in the morning, doing something in the afternoon, then the next morning is a new morning. So I think that inconsistency or uncertainty in the geoeconomics and geopolitics is not helping the cause, Shruti.
Indeed. Now, sir, you have covered so much in 5 minutes, but to your point, where we discussed about World War, yes, I do see that. Also, I think a lot of the forces from UK and France and all them have actually gone on that border of Norway or the Nordic countries, as you mentioned. तो वहां पे तो forces already जा चुके हैं and they have already been told prepare for war. ये एक बात है. दूसरी बात जो आप यूएस की बोल रहे हैं, मुझे लग रहा है दैट दे आर एक्चुअली गोइंग इनटू डीप रिसेशन. मुझे ऐसे नहीं लग रहा है कि दे आर गोइंग इनटू अ रिसेशन. मुझे वैसे लग रहा है दे आर ऑलरेडी इन अ रिसेशन. लेकिन जो आपने बोला है वो जो फिगर्स होते हैं थोड़ा फज्ड होते हैं, और फजिंग वहां से हुआ है क्योंकि दे आर ट्राइंग टू शो दैट दिस this new world order that they're looking to create is actually working when it is not, perhaps. तीसरी बात, एंड यू कैन करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, मुझे लग रहा है कि यू राइट ऑन द वॉर फ्रंट, लेकिन अगर ये टेंशन देखते हैं हम तो इसके बीच गोल्ड और सिल्वर जो स्टॉक्स हैं दे आर एट एन ऑल टाइम हाई. तो अभी टॉकिंग इज दिस प्रॉपर डिमांड और इज दिस अ मैक्रो शिफ्ट? मैं थोड़ा समझने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ.
So, to answer the first part of your, explanation or question, as far as America is concerned, I think there is a lobby in America, Shruti, I feel, who's trying to artificially prop up the stock markets there, the Nasdaq, the Dow, and the S&P, because somehow the stock market run is not matching with the fundamentals of the country as a whole. So that's where I feel there's a bit of a mismatch. The stock market is going in one direction and the economy is going in the other direction. I think there's midterm poll in America in 2026. So this entire scenario, I feel, is being created to make sure that he doesn't lose, although his approval rating has sharply plummeted, has gone sharply down. And I think on some quarters, the approval rating has gone into negative as well. Overall rating is about 35%, used to be over 50% when he came to power. So the situation is not looking good. So coming down to gold and silver, well, at the outset, Shruti, on a lighter note, people who made money on gold and silver in the last 1 year, or forget about 1 year, let's talk of 6 to 8 months, they must thank President Trump because gold loves uncertainty. Gold loves risky atmosphere, and the world is full of risk. Gold loves instability in policies as well. So those are friends of gold and silver. And I think gold and silver has those friends in abundance at this point of time. So उसके बहुत सारे ऐसे दोस्त मित्र खड़े हो गए हैं, जो अनसर्टेनिटी भी है, अनिश्चितता, अस्थिरता हिंदी में बोलते हैं. So all they are there. So I think, and as for the future of the gold, I think more important question is, as we talk now, Shruti, gold is basically the prices open from COMEX in New York. This is and the London bullion market, which is in London. So, but now COMEX is more, I would say, popular these days for opening the global gold prices. The gold prices around the world, they open from America. So I'll for the sake of discussing, I'll keep myself to those prices. 4299, or say, let's say $4,300 per ounce is the price there at this point of time, because it's a weekend and the markets are closed. So the last closing price of Saturday or Friday night, I'm sorry, was $4,300. It touched 42, 43, $40 during the day on Friday, but then it settled down. There was some profit booking, which is normal when the prices suddenly jump. There's always some profit booking at the top where traders and investors want to exit. They want to book their profits. But yes, gold and silver are still in for a run. I think the bullish undertone of gold and silver is very much intact because the factors which contribute to rise in gold and silver, those factors are intact. And the reason why gold has had this run, the billion-dollar question is what happened to gold and silver? The docile-looking precious metals who used to line one corner, maybe getting a necklace made or getting your earring made or getting your nose pin made or maybe a kangan or something. What suddenly happened? Did people start wearing more necklaces? No. Did people start wearing more kangans? No. Did people start wearing more nose pins? No. What happened was that after President Trump came in particular, I'm talking particularly of the last because he's just finished 1 year of the elections in the US in November. So what happened was that the trust which the countries had in the US Treasury, Shruti, there was a lot of trust. Trillions and trillions of dollars were invested in the US Treasury bonds, basically invested in dollars, I would say, the US dollar. Ever since President Trump came and he started, pulling out these policies from his hat, the trust इरोजन वॉज ऑब्जर्व्ड अब वो जो विश्वास था अमेरिका के ऊपर सालों का दशकों का डेकेड्स का देशों को लगने लगा ये तो वहां कुछ और हो रहा है अब तो आपको दे बिकेम जिटरी so the central banks, Shruti, now this is very important. The central banks of the world, they had their dollar reserves and dollar reserves plus treasury investments. Like for example, India has very heavy treasury investment. They started pulling out money from the US Treasury. Now, US dollar is an international currency. We all know that. I mean, almost 60 to 70% of the global trade, of the global debt, of the global reserves, of the global trading in Forex, that's done in US dollars, right? Since 1971, when President Richard Nixon was there, when he removed the gold standard and US dollar became the base currency for the world. Today, two countries talk, I think they keep their currency behind and they first talk in US dollars. So that was the supremacy of US dollar. And ever since President Trump came, so these central banks started pulling out the money. So the central bank started looking for an alternate measure of value. उनको कोई दूसरी चीज चाहिए था कि अगर डॉलर नहीं तो क्या फिर हम क्या so gold was the next best value, which is available across the world, can be bought and sold across the world. So what they did is they pumped that money into gold and silver, and then the run started. There's been no stopping ever since then. Uh, and the future is looking, Shruti, even brighter. Although people who are listening to you and me right now and are wanting to invest in gold and silver, they must consult their investment advisors and financial advisors because financial investment advisory, I feel, is a very personalized task. Your risk profile, your age, your term of investment, your product choice, all that is very, very personal. So you must consult here. This is not an investment advice we are giving on this conversation. I hope you agree with me. So, they must consult, but the undertone is looking bullish because none of the central banks, Shruti, every time a correction has come in the gold in the last few weeks or last few months, none of the central banks sold. And there's a lot of speculation which happens in gold and silver in these commodity markets. It's called COMEX in New York, like in India, we call it as MCX. I'm sure you have one in Australia also, where these commodities are traded, the precious metals. So there's a lot of derivative trading which happens. So that leads to a bit of speculation here and there. People buying contracts of next month, selling contracts of next month for the sake of trading. So there's a lot of speculation, Shruti, which goes on in gold and silver. So you see these occasional corrections. Sometimes the prices correct down. Like for yesterday, I said 40, 43, 50, $40, and then it's settled at $4,300. So there's that profit booking because of speculation. But a correction because of central bank selling has not been witnessed in the last few months, which means the central bank did not sell. Which they bought it and they bought it for the good. They kept it. They're still sitting on it. And the reserves of gold and silver are very limited. I can give you an example of gold. There's about 220,000 tons of gold which has been mined so far. And it is said about 50,000 to 100,000 tons of gold still remains to be mined. And on an average, 5 to 10,000 tons of gold gets mined every year for the technology that we have at hand as of now, you know. So therefore, gold is not going to last for probably another 15, 20 years. There'll be no gold to be mined. The same gold will circulate unless, of course, you find a technology to mine. I'm told there's a lot of gold underwater, but that gold is very difficult to pull out. It's very expensive and it's almost impossible to pull out as of now, unless a new technology might go. Elon Musk talks about space mining of gold. He says some of the planets are made of gold. He just wants to snatch them away or probably break a piece of them and bring down to Earth. But that all sounds imaginary as of now. So with the technology available right now, we don't have gold reserves for more than 15, 20 years, which means gold is scarce. Same goes for silver. And silver, additionally, Shruti, silver has been given gold a tough call because silver overtook gold in many regards. We saw silver yesterday touching 60, 64, $65 per ounce. Then it settled at about $60 for that matter, because there was profit booking again. Because silver also has an industrial use. You use it in solar batteries. We use it in electric vehicles, in electric, a lot of electronic components. Silver is being used. So silver additionally, apart from investment, silver is also being used for industry, which absorbs almost half of silver's demand for that matter. The consumption where silver simply gets consumed. You can't recycle that because it just goes into the equipment, and then the equipment is being used. So that silver is dead for you. So therefore, the scarcity of silver and gold is causing the prices to rise. And there's been heavy buying, and because of the heavy buying, Shruti, a lot of retail investors have joined the party. A lot of exchange traded funds, we call them as ETFs. They have joined the party. People are contributing to those ETFs and they're buying gold and silver. People are buying on retail. They're buying bars, coins. I find a lot of ladies rushing to buy jewelry. Although I would like to say that jewelry is not the best form of investment because you lose on the making charges. And you also lose on the impurities because you can't make a jewelry piece with 24 karat gold. So you have to compromise on the purity. So jewelry maybe you can use for ornamental. We need to segregate the ornamental value of gold with the investment value of the gold. I think it's high time once upon a time it used to be the same. Well, people used to buy jewelry. यहाँ इंडिया में बोलते थे ले बेटी रख ले तेरे आगे काम आएगा. Then the grandma used to pass on, ले मेरी grandma ने मुझे दिया था, ये मेरा नौलखा हार है हमारी फैमिली का, तुम अपने पास रखो, ये मेरे कंगन हैं, कभी जरूरत पड़े तो इनको. So those were the times, but I think the times have changed now. The ornamental value and the investment. I think ladies who want to buy gold, they should buy gold of low caratage. Make your reels, click your pictures, go to the weddings, and just keep them back 9 carat or 14 carat or 18 carat. I don't think gold should be jewelry should be used as an investment product for that matter. So that's the story of gold and silver, looking very bright in the times to come. I think people who want to get in, they should buy the smaller lots and hold it on for 2 years to 5 years. I feel this commodity is definitely going to give good returns. So that I feel, because all the friends of gold, instability, uncertainty, asthirta, anischitta, disturbance of peace, economically, geopolitically, वो सब उसके दोस्त उसके साथ साथ रहते हैं आजकल, thanks to a lot of people around the world. So that's the story of gold and silver.
सर, आपने बात सही कही है. सुबह उठ के ट्रम्प जो भी बोलता है, इट इम्पैक्ट्स द मार्केट्स. मैं तो अभी वेट कर रही हूँ कि उसका मुंह खुले ताकि मैं भी इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू कर दूं. लेकिन मुझे एक्चुअली ये जानना है, देयर वाज अ मैसिव बबल फॉर सिल्वर. 1970 में था और 2011 में भी था. हाउ इज दिस डिफरेंट? क्योंकि मैं जहां पे बैठ के देख रही हूँ, this is such a high that it just doesn't make sense. और अभी अभी I think 2 days back BIS ने warning दी है कि डबल बबल हो सकता है. अब पहले तो आप डबल बबल लोगों को एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं and give us an idea कि हम वो डबल बबल में है, and is it a risk?
देखिए, कोई भी इन्वेस्टमेंट, श्रुति, जब बहुत ज्यादा रिटर्न देता है, मैं आई एम अ फाइनेंस मैन एज वेल, अपार्ट फ्रॉम इकोनॉमिक्स आई आल्सो स्पीक अ लॉट ऑन फाइनेंस, स्टॉक मार्केट्स. जब भी कोई कोई प्रोडक्ट बहुत ज्यादा रिटर्न देता है तो रिस्क तो साथ साथ चलता है. तो ये तो मैं कभी भी नहीं कहूंगा कि ये सिर्फ वन वे ट्रैफिक है, इट इज जस्ट गोइंग टू रॉकेट अप एंड इट विल नेवर बी सो. हो सकता है, एनीथिंग इज पॉसिबल. बट हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम लोग बहुत सिम्टोमेटिक चलते हैं. तो जो सर्कमस्टांसेस बन रहे हैं इसको ऊपर ले जाने वाले, वो सर्कमस्टांसेस अभी इंटैक्ट हैं. अब मैं एक हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन लेता हूँ, श्रुति. President Putin and President Zelensky go and hug each other. President Trump says tomorrow, fine, no tariffs from now. I'm fine. I mean, I don't want to impose any tariffs. I mean, everybody's a friend. Let me just go to G20 and so on and so forth. Unless something like this happens, you never know. You never know. And suddenly you and file gold and silver come crashing down because there's no uncertainty. There is no geopolitical tension there. So they will come down. So होने को कुछ भी हो सकता है. इसीलिए हम जब recommend करते हैं, श्रुति, तो हम एक बैलेंस्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो रिकमेंड करते हैं. आपका 20% 4-5 एसेट क्लासेस में होना चाहिए. नेवर पुट ऑल एग्स इन द सेम बास्केट. दैट्स अ थंब रूल इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट्स. तो अभी बबल की जहां तक बात है, कुछ हद तक है पर ज्यादा हद तक नहीं भी है, क्योंकि ये जो 1970 का सिल्वर क्रैश था उसके बाद भी 1-2 बार हुआ है. उस क्रैश में उसमें तब हम सिल्वर को इतना इंडस्ट्रियल यूज नहीं करते थे. उस टाइम ईवीज नहीं थे इतने, सोलर सेल्स ना के बराबर थे. तब तो सोलर, अभी लोग सोच ही रहे थे सोलर के बारे में उस जमाने में. तो अभी जो हुआ है वो पहले वाला ये सिचुएशन नहीं है। तो इस वजह से मुझे लग रहा है कि ज्यादा बबल नहीं। अब देखिए, जब किसी चीज पे स्पेकुलेशन होता है ना, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, तो थोड़ा बबल तो होगा ही होगा, बिकॉज स्पेकुलेशन मींस यू आर बाइंग नेक्स्ट मंथ्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, नेक्स्ट मंथ्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, देन थर्ड मंथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। तो मैं जब मार्जिन के जरिए, आप, आई एम श्योर यू आर फेमिलियर विद कमोडिटी मार्केट ट्रेडिंग, जब आप मार्जिन से ट्रेड कर रहे हैं तो बबल तो अपने आप बनेगा। आपने यू कंट्रीब्यूटेड $10 एंड you're buying let's say gold and silver lot of let's say $500, तो आप $10 से $500 का सामान खरीद रहे हैं, वो भी एक महीने के लिए खरीद रहे हैं, उसको रोल ओवर भी कर रहे हैं, तो बबल तो हमेशा ही होगा। When there is a lot of derivative trading, bubble is always there, but there is a lot of solid price movement also this time because as I said, ये जो मैंने आपको बताया कि ट्रेजरी, यूएस ट्रेजरी में से कंट्रीज ने अपना पैसा निकाला, बहुत ज्यादा निकाला। ये न्यूज नहीं बना सारे में, बिकॉज यूएस ने बोला कि हम निकाल तो रहे हैं पर आप किसी को बताओगे नहीं, निकालने तो हम देंगे पर आप बताओगे नहीं किसी को। तो इट वाज डन इन अ हश हश काइंड ऑफ अ वे. And central banks slowly but slowly kept accumulating. 220 tons of gold has been bought by central banks in the month of November itself. So very silently they kept doing it over the last couple of years. और ट्रम्प साहब के आने के बाद उसका स्पीड बढ़ गया और जल्दी जल्दी होने लग गया वो। तो मुझे लग रहा है क्योंकि सेंट्रल बैंक्स जब तक नहीं बेचेंगे, श्रुति, लेट मी reiterate, until central banks become seller around the world, the prices will not see a deep correction. So that the bubble, whatever BIS says or whatever double bubble we are talking about, to a certain extent, yes, but majorly no. Because the geopolitics and geoeconomics is completely in favor of these two precious metals.
सर मुझे ये जानना है कि आप सही बोल रहे हो एंड वी आल्सो नो दैट यूएस इज इन डेट ऑफ ऑलमोस्ट 38 ट्रिलियन, यू नो। आई एम गोइंग टू आस्क यू अ वेरी डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन though. Isn't it something that the banks or the treasury tends to look at to have more cash within their reserves? So for them, the stock market crash would be beneficial for them because people pull the money out and put it back in the banks to help the US economy?
Because having Shruti, gold and silver is as good as cash. If you come to me for with let's say 5 kilos of gold today, I can get you cash in no time. You want to buy gold, just go and change it for cash. So it is, gold is cash. It's so much in demand, gold and silver, that people are just lapping it up. So I think that is as good as cash. And then also Shruti, because gold and silver was bought with an intent that you're also preserving liquidity along with investment. Cash would have just meant cash. Cash wouldn't have meant giving you a return. Look at what kind of return silver and gold has given last 1 year. I'm talking of the Indian returns. I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it. 1 lakh rupees, 100,000 rupees per kilo of return on silver in 1 year, and we are yet to finish the year, by the way. 100,000 rupees. It used to be a lakh rupees a kilo, and yesterday it crossed 2 lakh rupees a kilo, 200,000 rupees a kilo. And gold, it was about 75,000 and it touched 1 lakh 135,000 for 10 grams in the Delhi jewelry market, the Delhi bullion market. So look at the kind of return. So then it worked well for central banks. One, they pulled out money. And what was the US Treasury giving them? It has turned out to be a blessing. The US Treasury was giving them 5.5%, 4%, 6% at the most, 5.25%, 6.5% when the Fed the rates were high. And look at the kind of returns they've got now. So it was a win-win situation. One, they got out of risky uncertain US environment. Two, they ended up, doubling their investment while it was silently lying in their gold reserves in the currency chest. And look at the value, it has shot up. In fact, we are now anticipating, Shruti, because when President Trump and President Xi Jinping of China, they met, one of the conditions which President Xi Jinping had put to President Trump, that we don't want yuan to be dependent on dollars. We want it to be backed by gold. And prior to 1971, when Richard Nixon came, there was gold standard. So I have a feeling, Shruti, I'm going to make a big statement, that gold standard seems to be coming back. You might see gold standard again, when the currency's strength would be known by the quantum of gold you have with you. So I think those times are going to come, because dollar as a currency, thanks to President Trump, dollar is losing his supremacy. He's very possessive about dollar. And every time somebody talks of a BRICS currency or somebody talks of diluting dollar's supremacy, he gets hyper. He gets a sleepless night there. He says, no, 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 no. How can my dollar? This is our dollar. We are. So I think that attitude on part of the American president is not doing any good, because America is ending up Isolating. When I was a child, Shruti, and I had my first lessons in geography. I remember I went to my school and I was shown the world map for the first time. I had a big board in front, and they put up that world map. And I asked a very st silly question. I was very young, I think 5 years or 5.5 years. I asked my teacher, that I used to call her ma'am. Ma'am, why is one part of the world, segregated, separate from rest of the world? Of course, Australia is down under, so I didn't notice Australia at that time, but I found one big map, and I said, so she said, darling, that's America, and that's North America. This is South America. I said the rest of the world seems to be co-joined. They're connected to each other. Of course, I'm not talking of Australia, which is I said, the rest of the world, most of it is cold. Why is this part of the world separate? She said that there's water in between. Now, today, I was recollecting that question, Shruti, in a very philosophical manner. Today, America has isolated itself not just geographically, there's an Atlantic Ocean between the rest of the world and America, or Pacific on the other side, but economically, culturally, socially. Monolateralism seems to be thrown out of the window in America. America just thinks of itself. He didn't participate in the G20. He's pulled out of the WTO. He's pulled out of the climate accord. He's pulling out of NATO. What is it? What is America trying to do? Trying to isolate yourself. So, that question, which I had put to my teacher when I was 5.5 years old, I thought it just struck me that I was right. That why is this part of the world separate? Why is not co-joined with the rest of the world? So, it was very philosophical when that question and the situation today suddenly became relatable. What I mean, मुझे लगता है अमेरिका ने अपने आप को अलग थलग कर लिया बिल्कुल अमेरिका को किसी उसको उनको किसी से अब लगता है मतलब नहीं हम तो बॉस हैं हम यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका अरे भाई बॉस तो आप इसलिए हो क्योंकि आपके डिजिटल ब्रांड्स आज ग्लोबल ब्रांड्स हैं माइक्रोसॉफ्ट है amazon है पिज्जा हट है कोका कोला है पेप्सी है गूगल है मेटा है आपके ब्रांड्स आज आलू टमाटर की तरह दुनिया भर में बिकते हैं क्यों आप सुप्रीम हो क्योंकि दुनिया की वजह से आप सुप्रीम हो अगर आप दुनिया को अपने आप से अलग कर दोगे और या खुद को दुनिया से अलग कर लोगे तो आप तो कुछ भी नहीं हो एज अ लीडर सेज आई एम अ लीडर बिकॉज ऑफ माई प्रजा if there is no praja, I'm no leader. So I just fail to understand. I mean, why is he trying to isolate himself? Well, MAGA, he's trying to please some MAGA voters or MAGA lobby, but what will MAGA be? Because his approval ratings are falling now. How a handful of MAGA people will get happy with what he's trying to do? So that's the story as of now, and I feel the future of which is why I feel the future of gold and silver, Shruti, is looking very bright to me in the next 2 to 5 years.
Okay, sir. So we've spoken about gold and silver, and I think I'm with you on this. I'm on that same boat. मैं वही boat पे हूँ जहाँ मैं सोच रही हूँ ये बंदा कर क्या रहा है, right? He's not gaining anything. He's actually making more enemies. तो उसने actually देखा जाए तो उसकी पूरी इकोनॉमी को उसने ही क्रैश करवाया. Thinking about it.
बिल्कुल 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 आप ठीक कह रहे हैं
I just don't get it. Like, it's forget isolation. उसने खुद की इकोनॉमी को, खुद की पीपल को उसने इतना परेशान किया हुआ है अभी. एंड आई एग्री विद यू, जॉब्स चले गए हैं. अभी मेरे हस्बैंड की कंपनी में, खुद की कंपनी में सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स को हटा रहे हैं. सो एक्चुअली जो दिखा रहे हैं वो है नहीं. लेट्स जस्ट पुट इट आउट देयर. लेकिन सर, हमने गोल्ड के बारे में बात कर ली, तो इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट के बारे में देखते हैं. इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट भी बहुत अभी हाई है. तो आपकी सोच क्या है? क्योंकि लोग ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि स्टॉक मार्केट तो क्रैश होने वाला है नेक्स्ट ईयर, और गोल्ड और सिल्वर इतना हाई होने वाला है, प्रोबेबली बिकॉज ऑफ द वॉर एंड द अनसर्टेनिटी. तो इसके बारे में आपकी सोच क्या है?
देखिए इंडिया का जो ग्रोथ स्टोरी है श्रुति दैट ग्रोथ स्टोरी इज वेरी मच इंटैक्ट वी फॉलो इंडियन इकोनॉमी एंड द ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी very closely, me and my research team. All the economic high frequency indicators and economic parameters are very healthy. We got a very healthy forex reserve. We may be 1.45 billion people. I don't say that the country has solved all its economic problems, poverty or unemployment. But overall country का health पिछले जब से मोदी जी आए हैं a lot has happened in last 11 years. We were from 1947 to 2014, Shruti. We were a $2 trillion economy. In those 67 years, we just about struggled to manage to reach to $2 trillion. And from 2014 to 2025, we've added another 2 trillion. We are now $4 trillion. We are about to overtake Germany now. We probably by the end of 2026. we would have become the fourth largest economy. So something good must have happened. I mean, these numbers, they don't come out of thin air. So all the economic parameters here in this country, we are the fastest growing country at this point of time as far as emerging and large economies are concerned. So इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट्स, मैंने ये इसलिए बताया क्योंकि ये स्टॉक मार्केट्स के लिए बताना जरूरी होता है. Now Indian stock market, as we talk now, we are standing about 26,000. We track Nifty more than the Sensex. There are two principal indices here. Because Nifty takes into account 50 leading stocks, Sensex takes about 30 leading stocks. So Indian stock market high अ, है भी और नहीं भी है. क्योंकि हो क्या रहा है, यहाँ से जो फॉरेन इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, एफपीआई, जिन्होंने बहुत पैसा यहाँ लगाया था, उन्होंने पिछले 1 साल में यहाँ से पैसा प्रॉफिट बुक करके पैसा निकाला है. They pulled out a lot of money. Whereas the domestic institutional investors, the Indian people, through the mutual funds, we call them as DIIs, they have pumped in money along with. वरना तो जितना उन्होंने पैसा निकाला है, अभी हमको 26,000 निफ्टी की जगह हमको 18,000 निफ्टी होना चाहिए था. बट बिकॉज जैसे जैसे वो निकालते गए डीआई, तो इंडिया का जो फंडामेंटल्स है वो अच्छा है. इसलिए मैं इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट को पूरी तरह से हाई भी नहीं कहूंगा, क्योंकि वो उसमें करेक्शन आ ही नहीं पाया है. जब जब करेक्शन का सीन बना तो मार्केट, श्रुति, डिडंट फॉल. इट जस्ट वेंट डाउन टू 25,500, लोएस्ट इन 1 ईयर 25,000. फिर उसके बाद रिकवर कर जाता है, फिर नीचे आता है, फिर रिकवर कर जाता है, बिकॉज सो मच ऑफ almost 40,000 crore rupees is being pumped in by the mutual funds every month. And they have to, you collect, when you're an AMC, an asset management company, and you collect money from people, you have to invest. You can't just be sitting on it. The money can't be doing nothing. So they pump, and a lot of corporates in India, which constitutes the stock market, they are doing pretty well. Their bottom lines are fine, their top lines are fine. I have data with me. So maybe a little overvalued. There's something which we call as PE, price to earning ratio. I'm sure you must have heard of this. So the PE as compared to other Asian markets are slightly higher, but then you have to give it to us because our growth rate is far more than the other countries around us. The smaller countries, Vietnam हो गया, Thailand हो गया, Cambodia हो गया, पाकिस्तान को तो मैं गिनता ही नहीं कहीं, श्रीलंका हो गया, China for that matter. China is the second largest economy, but China is at this point of time is growing at about 5%. We are growing at about 8.2% or 7.5 to 8%. So I think the Indian growth story, तो अगर ये correction आता भी है, coming back to your question, तो ये यहाँ पर इतना deep नहीं आएगा. इसके global economy is growing at 2.5%. We are growing 3 times the rate of global economy. तो अगर American markets या European markets यहाँ से crash करता भी है, तो उसका कैस्केडिंग और रिपलिंग इफेक्ट थोड़ा थोड़ा आएगा. We are entwined to the world now. No country, even if you are down under, Shruti, you're still entwined to the world in more ways than one. You may be geographically down under, but then economy-wise, you are tied to rest of the world. Whatever happens in rest of the world does impact you. Maybe not as much, but then it does impact you. So because every country is entwined to the rest of the world, so you can't say that वहाँ कुछ भी होगा, मेरे ऊपर तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला. ऐसा नहीं होता है. थोड़ा आएगा, but कम आएगा. I feel, Shruti, not because I'm an Indian and I'm sitting here in New Delhi and I'm making this statement because I love my country. I've been born, brought up here, and whatever I am today is because of my country. मैं इसलिए नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. मुझे इकोनॉमिक्स के बेसिस पे बोल रहा हूँ कि नेक्स्ट डेकेड बिलोंग्स टू इंडिया इज व्हाट आई कैन से कॉन्फिडेंटली. इसलिए मुझे लग रहा है कि करेक्शन इतना नहीं आएगा.
Understood. And I totally agree. Next decade does belong to India. If anything, I think India has put itself in such a powerful position, they can dictate terms, which is fantastic to see on a global scale. अब मैं थोड़ा ब्रिक्स के बारे में बात करना चाहती हूँ. You have mentioned BRICS. अब ब्रिक्स की de-dollarization और गोल्ड बैक करेंसी की डिस्कशंस चल रहे हैं, which is, like you said, giving Trump a lot of nightmares and a lot of sleepless nights. तो अगर ये होता है, what is the real impact of this on the economy and for India as well?
Oh, massive. It's going to be massive because डॉलर की जो दादागिरी है, इन्वर्टेड कॉमर्स में, डॉलर का जो दबदबा है, डॉलर का जो सुप्रीमेसी है, डॉलर का जो रुआब है, डॉलर की जो धौंस है, I'm sure you're familiar with these terms. You must have heard them at some point of time. So that is going to fade away. And the moment, Shruti, dollar supremacy, there'll be a new economic order in the world. Because as I said, if two countries, they talk to each other, they put their own currencies aside. They say it's easy to talk in US dollars. Let's just talk in US dollars. And if BRICS currency, although BRICS currency at this point of time, maybe under discussion, but not very actively because Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a few other countries. South Africa, you know what President Trump has done to South Africa. He said he shunned G20 because he doesn't like South Africa at all. Brazil, you know the scene. Russia, it's an open secret what's happening between. Let's come to India, and he's been giving a lot of funny statements on India as well. मौका नहीं छोड़ रहे इंडिया को. कभी कभी प्यार मोहब्बत दिखाते हैं. Prime Minister Modi is a very nice man. I love that country. He's a great leader. और दूसरे दिन क्या होता है? Yeah, I'm going to levy tariff on rice and this and that. This is not fair. They're dumping rice here and this. So I mean, with India, he's so contrasting in his approach. तो मैं कोई अभी बहुत ज्यादा घनिष्ठ मित्र नहीं मानता हूं उसको, ठीक है. और अब आया चाइना. चाइना का भी सबको पता है, साउथ अफ्रीका. तो जितनी कंट्रीज हैं वो सब बिल्कुल, आई वुड से दैट द टेबल इज रेडी फॉर अ करेंसी टू बी सर्व्ड. But I think the practical side of such a currency, Shruti, is not as easy. I mean, the road to giving birth to this country is not very easy. So it may take some time. Maybe if President Trump's, gimmicks or President Trump's tantrums, they get more aggravated from here, then BRICS countries will probably put their heads together and say, because Prime Minister Modi, couple of days ago, had a phone call with with President Trump. और जी की हाल चाल है, ठीक ठाक हो ना, तुसी सब ठीक है ना? Let's have strategic tie-ups. We have defense tie-ups. Just kind of a bonhomie on the phone. That's up because the two of his trade representatives were here for the trade deal, which is not happening. We've had 6 rounds, and the deal doesn't seem to be happening because he wants to sell, meat-eating cattle or meat-eating cattle fodder in India. He wants to sell his genetically modified soya bean or corn here. Where India doesn't need. India is a food basket of the world. India is self-sufficient. We don't need. And 35% of the country, Shruti, is vegetarian, including me. I'm a die-hard vegetarian. So you too. So I can't have milk where the cow has been feeding on meat remains. I'm sorry, I can't have that butter or ghee or paneer or whatever. I can't have that. So he's been forcing. नहीं आपको तो लेना पड़ेगा ये, because the agri sector in US is in a bad shape right now, very bad shape. A delegation went to the White House and he heard about the people in Virginia, the farmers in Virginia. They came to him and they said, sir, we are not able to sell. We are in trade deficit now. We were in trade surplus earlier. We're now in trade deficit. So which is what he said. Oh, how can India send his basmati rice? Our basmati rice there's America's, I would say, tasteless rice. I'm sorry to say that is no match for basmati rice. So basmati rice is full of smell. It's very nice to cook. The aroma is fantastic. Look at that genetically modified rice. It may look very good, but it's tasteless. So they started importing that rice more. So he got furious. BRICS currency, coming back to your question, Shruti, is a very tough call. It's not easy, but yes, imagining there to be one, I think it will change the global world order, and it will further isolate America, and America's I would say supremacy is going to end, and the global currency market is will go through an overhaul. People will start re-looking at their reserves, the currency reserves which the countries create. Trading will be a different. I think it will be altogether different. If that happens, I think it will be the beginning of the end of economic superpower abilities of America, for that matter.
Sir, you say that, and I agree with you. I've seen that these 5 countries have been targeted the most by him. So I think he does sense risk. It could accelerate, given that he's really going for it. It could accelerate the the currency discussions, and I would like that to happen, because if that does happen, then yes. And I know I live in a Western country and stuff, but when I look at the politics that are currently played, I don't like the politics that is coming from that end, and a lot of people are very open about it. So अगर BRICS ने न्यू गोल्ड बैक करेंसी क्रिएट किया हुआ है, well done to them.
Absolutely, but absolutely. पर वो मुश्किल है बहुत, इतना आसान नहीं है, श्रुति.
True. Now, just on that note, China and Russia are also buying a lot of gold reserves as well. So hopefully there is a sort of mind game or plan. And मैं तो हमेशा यही बोलती कि चाइना भले ही हमारे दोस्त लग रहे, लेकिन there's always that risk as well. और जहां ट्रंप की बात आती है, स्पीकिंग टू द इंडियन प्राइम मिनिस्टर, सर, इट्स जस्ट हॉट एयर. मुझे ऐसे लगता है sometimes.
Oh, it is. It's just, as I said, it's just because he's very unpredictable. The problem with President Trump is he's highly unpredictable. एंड अभी तक तो ये नहीं समझ में आया उनका मित्र कौन है, उनका दोस्त कौन है, शाहबाज शरीफ है कि आसिफ मुनीर है, कौन दोस्त है उनका? पाकिस्तानी एक दोस्त नजर आता, आई लव पाकिस्तान ही said. And he set up his family has set up that World Liberty Finance in Pakistan. Pakistan Crypto Council बना दिया है. He's running his crypto business there. So he seems to be, if he says I love Pakistan, he knows that Osama bin Laden was sheltered in Pakistan, was picked up from Pakistan. He can still afford to say that I love Pakistan. That only God save him, in terms of how people form an opinion about him. But I think the unpredictability of President Trump and his actions, says something else, does something else, backtracks, flip-flops. I think that is clear. And, if there was anybody else, Shruti, it would have been fine. But you're sitting in the most powerful country in the world, the largest economy in the world, the most powerful position in the world, for that matter. If that position is acting like this, obviously it's going to cause a lot of ripples around the world, isn't it?
Indeed. Now, sir, I have a different type of questions. If a currency is created, a gold-backed currency is created, what happens to the Indian rupee in this case?
Well, I think Indian rupee stands to gain because if BRICS currency is created, then obviously all the BRICS currencies, what happened to euro? I mean, this is your question is similar to what happened to euro before. There used to be Deutschmark, there used to be all the currencies in Europe. And now you pay for Europe, so there'll be a BRICS currency, and that currency will prevail in all the BRICS countries. And I think they will trade in that currency. They will you will have an exchange rate of that currency, and dollar will become just any other currency thereafter. I think dollar, as I said, dollar supremacy will be over, so dollar will be any other currency like a British pound or like a Swiss franc or like a Japanese yen. It will be like an Australian dollar, like a Canadian dollar. It will be like any other country. I think the BRICS countries, and I'm sure more and more countries, Shruti, will join the gang because BRICS is already lined up with a lot of other countries. So they're going to join the gang because this comes out of multilateralism. This comes out of multipolar society. What President Trump is trying to do is move away from multipolar society. He's going to be very selfish, very vested, only think of America. Well, it's everybody thinks of their own country, but then you're not so explicit about it. You don't present it as often as it is being done as of now. So, BRICS currency, I'll be the happiest person if BRICS currency comes, and I would love to keep some in my wallet as well, Shruti.
Indeed, me too. Now, Sharaji, I'm going to look at practical and actionable investors guidance. Now, again, I agree with you कि जिसको finance में कुछ या guidance कुछ चाहिए तो please speak to your financial advisor. हम तो general बातें कर रहे हैं और by no means do not take this as a final investment guide or strategy. लेकिन आज के हाई प्राइस एनवायरनमेंट में एक नॉर्मल इंडियन इन्वेस्टर को अपने पोर्टफोलियो में कितना गोल्ड और सिल्वर रखना चाहिए? इफ इट वाज यू, इफ इट वाज मी, I would look at maybe a 70-30 for myself. But what is your strategic thought and pattern?
मुझे लगता है अगर ये जो रिसेशन की हमने बात किया 2026 में, या जो जियोपॉलिटिकल वॉर्स का हमने बात किया 2026 में, ये बहुत इमिनेंट लग रहा है, तो मैं अपना रिप्लाई इसको मान के दूंगा कि ये इमिनेंट है अभी ऐसा। तो जब ऐसे हालात होते हैं, श्रुति, देन द बेस्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी इज टू गो फॉर मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन. Multi-asset allocation. So if you've got, let's say, $100,000 with you, this is what you should do. Keep 20% liquid in your bank fixed deposits or bank term deposits. 20% consult an expert, go for stock markets. Another 20% select good mutual funds. Another 20% keep in gold and silver. So gold and silver, your question was more relating to gold and silver. We are recommending here not more than 20% in your portfolio. And out of that 20%, maybe 10% gold, 10% silver, or 15% gold, 5% silver. You can obviously split it the way you want. And the rest of the 20%, real estate. So we call this as multi-asset allocation, spreading across 5 class of assets. That is the strategy to be followed when you have uncertainty and recession knocking at your door. So that's a very precise answer to your question.
Understood. Now, I understand the asset allocation and investing in different portfolios and having that strategy. We know why, because if one goes down, then the others sort of cover those losses. You're spreading the risk. Now, in this instance, if we just look at gold and silver, if we don't invest in gold abhi, क्योंकि हम मैंने तो गोल्ड खरीद लिया है और आई हैव लेफ्ट इट इन वन ऑफ द बुलियंस, व्हिच इज अनदर क्वेश्चन आई हैव फॉर यू, कि इज इट सेफ टू लीव इट विद इन द बुलियंस और शुड वी बी टेकिंग इट अवे गिवन द गोल्ड रिजर्व्स आर डाउन एट द मोमेंट?
I think first of all, you should when you're investing in gold, you should invest for long term. So they say a lot of people ask me, Shruti, that have we missed the bus? FOMO, as they say, the fear of missing out. A lot of people ask that have we missed the bus because gold prices? We were thinking of buying when it was $3,500. Now it's up to $4,300. No, for a long-term investor, as a matter of principle, as a maxim, any time is a good time to invest. So first of all, buy through SIP. We call it like sipping your tea. A little bit every time a correction takes place. Don't park your entire chunk at one go. That's the first rule. The second question, whether you should keep it in the billion or should you, I think it's not a bad idea to pull out from there because the gold reserves are shaky, and if the sometime when the value is too high, your logistics become, your parking becomes, or your storage becomes a bit dicey at those times. Because remember what happened a few months, in fact, what India did, India had a vault in England, and a lot of countries had their vault. It was supposed to be a very safe place. And ever since Russia started threatening the UK, India has ordered back a lot of gold from there. So planefuls of gold has come, and India has taken. So when the situation is uncertain, it's better to keep things to yourself rather than leaving it to somebody else's trust. Just the way other countries have pulled out their treasury investments from the US. So when the times are uncertain, it's better to keep it to yourself. That's the answer to your question.
Oh, that's very good to hear. मेरी सोच तो यही है कि it's in a secure location, लेकिन मुझे लग रहा है कि it's time for me to consider my own strategies. और because I've also heard कि जब crisis time आता है तब it is within their power to take your physical gold.
Absolutely, absolutely. हम लोग तो यहाँ क्या recommend कर रहे हैं, श्रुति, आपके, I'm sure if you have it in Australia, because here we have ETFs, exchange traded funds. So what these funds, they're like mutual funds, and what they do is every time you invest, let's say $10,000 in gold, so they have to keep a backup, but the gold lies in your demat account. So in your demat account, it's there and it's safe because these ETFs are regulated by SEBI and Reserve Bank of India and the Securities Exchange Board of India, and they have to, for every single rupee which is invested by an Indian in ETF, they have to keep a backup. So demat is safe, nobody can take it away, and they are traded in stock markets as well. But nothing better than, of course, keeping it to yourself in hard form. But the problem there is storage, safety, security. Those issues crop up because you can only store up to a limit. I can't just go on parking a gold at home or whatever. So ETFs here, I'm sure you've got an alternate to that in Australia as well.
Yes, we do. Now, अभी अभी हमने बात की कि स्टॉक मार्केट तो बहुत हाई पे है, तो should people invest right now or wait for the next dip जो शायद next year आने वाला है? Might not be as high, लेकिन फिर भी.
तो हम लोग इस क्वेश्चन का बहुत आसान आंसर है, श्रुति, और मेरे से ये सवाल बार बार पूछा जाता है, तो बट द आंसर इज वेरी इजी बिकॉज हम लोग यहाँ क्या कहते हैं कि एज आई सेड, फॉर अ लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर एनी टाइम इज अ गुड टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट. सो हम लोग यहाँ पर एक साथ इन्वेस्ट ही नहीं कराते हैं, हम SIP कराते हैं, सिस्टमैटिक इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान. द वे यू सिप योर टी, हॉट कप ऑफ टी, बॉइलिंग कप ऑफ टी, थोड़ा थोड़ा करके, थोड़ा थोड़ा करके. यहाँ पर पहले इंडिया में क्या होता था कि बहुत साल पहले की बात कर रहा हूँ, आपको भी याद होगा, वो लोग ना उसमें डाल के पीते थे, प्लेट में डाल के, और वो पीते थे तो आवाज भी आती थी, सुर करके आवाज आती थी. सो बिकॉज द टी वॉज वेरी हॉट, तो वो लोग उसमें ठंडा करके, पुराना स्टाइल था. सो आई थिंक सिपिंग इज द बेस्ट वे, दैट इफ यू आर पुटिंग इट इन स्मॉलर लॉट्स, Shruti, then what you do is whenever there is a correction as well, you know, so you would have bought at a higher level, you would have bought at a moderate level, you would have bought at the correction level also, you would have bought at a deep correction level as well. So उससे क्या होता है, आपका एवरेज आउट हो जाता है, और जो भी सिप करता है उसको हम 10 साल का होराइजन देते हैं. तो 10 साल के होराइजन में तो दुनिया ही उथल पुथल हो जाता है. लॉट हैपेंस इन 10 years. पीपल, लड़ाई भी आ चुकी होंगी, बूम पीरियड भी आ चुका होगा, सो दैट योर इन्वेस्टमेंट हैज सीन ऑल अप्स एंड डाउन, सो देयरफॉर इट इवन्स आउट. So that answer is very simple, that do it in smaller lots, do it for a very long term, let the correction come, it won't bother you.
Understood. अब मैं आपको, ये मेरा फाइनल सवाल है, अगर आपको इन्वेस्टर्स को एक सीधी एडवाइस देनी हो 2026 के लिए, ये गलती बिल्कुल मत करना, तो वो कौन सी एडवाइस होगी?
दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इजी आंसर टू प्रोवाइड. वो गलती होगी कि आप सारा अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट एक ही प्रोडक्ट पे ना करें। सबसे बड़ी गलती होगी कि आप सारा पैसा एक ही में ना करें और सारा पैसा एक साथ ना करें। ये दूसरी गलती होगी कि उठाया, whatever you have, all your savings invested tomorrow because my friend said this, my relative did it, or my neighbor did it, or whatever, you know. So don't put at one go, don't put in the same product. And the third galti is that please do not become a trader. People come as investors and they become traders. I met so many people, Shruti, जो गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करने आए थे 6 महीने पहले। हम तो 5 साल के लिए इन्वेस्ट करेंगे। जैसे ही देखा कि गोल्ड बढ़ा, $50 बेच बाज के चले गए, और अब वो, आप मानेंगे नहीं, वो खरीदना बेचना शुरू हो गए। आज मेरे पास कोई कॉल आया कहीं से, सम ऑफ माय टीवी व्यूअर, सर मैंने ना गोल्ड ट्रेड करना। मैंने कहा आई एम सॉरी, आई विल नॉट गिव यू एनी एडवाइस ऑन ट्रेडिंग बिकॉज यू कैन सिवियरली बर्न योर फिंगर्स देयर। सो therefore if you are a long term investor, that is the first thing you should do, not in the same basket. Second thing, and also do it in smaller lots. Those are the three mistakes you should avoid. And multi assets, that is so ये तीन चार गलतियां लोग ना करें 2026 में, and I think you should be a rich person.
Sharad ji, thank you so much. I've had the pleasure of speaking to you. I've always wanted an economist on my show क्योंकि मुझे बहुत पसंद है ये सब बातें करना. So thank you so much कि आपने टाइम निकाला मेरे चैनल पे आने के लिए.
It was my pleasure to be talking to somebody who's sitting so far away and having so much interest in economics and the world of finance. My pleasure, Shruti. Thank you.
Thank you.